Hello, loves. I'm just setting up TikTok right now. I hope everybody is doing well. Forgot I had it on airplane mode. I was just recording two videos for you guys, so that's why I'm a little late. But you guys are getting those today, so let me just go live on here. Yep, there we go. Hold on. Okay. Let me just bring this over here. Okay. Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Big welcome to everybody. Really excited to be here today. Let me just go live on here. Hope everybody's doing well. Scorpio season has been crazy. Libra season and then Scorpio season have been crazy. Okay? Crazy. It has been crazy. I don't want to hear it. It's been crazy. It's been crazy. Okay, it's been a crazy ass time. I hope that y'all have been taken care of very well because it's been crazy. Those are my feelings. That's literally how I feel about it. It's just been crazy. Hello. Hi. How is everybody? I hope everybody is literally alive and okay. Cause y'all, it has been a trip. It's been a trip. But the second that Venus moved into Capricorn, which by the way, y'all are getting a video breaking down Venus in Capricorn. So stay tuned for that. I literally just filmed it for you guys. So I'm gonna upload it tonight so you guys can get it tonight. And you guys are also getting the lunar eclipse breakdown as well. For those who are new and don't know, I am having a self-care workshop for that lunar eclipse and full moon in Taurus that's happening. That lunar eclipse is going to be pretty intense. And when you guys see my breakdown for it, you're going to understand why I decided to do a self-care workshop. Like you're gonna understand. So yeah, for those who don't know, I have a Patreon and I do workshops every single month. So that way we can like do different work with each other and also like make sure that during that month we are actively working and healing ourselves in whatever way. Yeah, y'all. How did the return to sender go? The person ended up in the hospital. I forgot to upload that TikTok on YouTube, but I definitely made a TikTok about it. But the person ended up in the hospital. Anyway, it is what it is. I can't say anything. But hello everybody. I'm glad everybody's doing good. 0 to 100. No, seriously, like the energy. 0 to 100. It's literally it went from 0 to 100 unnecessarily, like real quick. It was just it, but it's almost at the same time like it was needed too. Like it was definitely like I feel like Libra season and Scorpio season have been very, very difficult seasons. Honestly, I feel like Scorpio season has been. I mean, granted, Scorpio season is a little bit of a trigger for me. Like anytime anything is a Scorpio, you best be knowing that I am going through some deep transformations. But it has been very, very, very triggering. But at the same time, it has been very healing. Like I've had a lot of realizations and I've had a lot going on. But now that Venus is in Capricorn, I feel so much better because it was crazy when Venus was in Sag. It felt like it because I have like Mars and Sag in my 5th house. That's where I have my Sag energy. It felt like I couldn't have pleasure. I couldn't have fun. I couldn't reach that. But the second Venus got into Capricorn, I immediately felt more grounded. And it's just because I have a stellium in Capricorn. So it was just a lot easier for me to kind of navigate the energy, my own energy. than like when Venus was in Sag. It almost felt like it really wasn't in Sag. It felt like it wasn't some other shit that didn't feel that great. But here we are, y'all. We alive. But yo, it was not easy times. It was not easy. It definitely went from 0 to 100 real quick. Like Virgo season felt so far away, and at the same time, it feels like so much happened within the past 2 months. It's been crazy. But we're doing the work, and now that Venus is going to be in Capricorn for 4 months, you guys are going to get my breakdown on that. So I'm not going to touch on it too much, but there's definitely a lot going on astrologically speaking. And it's going to be a very productive transit is the word that I'm going to use. Hey Lana, how are you? Hello everybody. Healing is always great. 1000%. Even if it takes like I feel like I went through like a whole entire like that death and rebirth, like that Phoenix transformation through Scorpio season. But Libra season was just kind of like pushing towards it. It's been crazy. But I hope everybody's been doing good. That breakdown is definitely coming. I am going back to the normal schedule of videos because I had to go to my family's house the week before, and so it like certain things got taken out of like the timing for things. But you know what? Everything kind of works in divine timing, so I let it be at this point. But this week, I think it's gonna be one of those weeks that things continue to shake up. Things continue to be a little bit hectic. Things continue to be a little bit triggering. And things kind of continue to be like like feeling a little bit dense. We like started the week the moon being in Capricorn, and so it already starts when it feels a little bit more grounded, but it's like you have to understand like as the moon transits this week, it's going to be hitting that Jupiter and that Saturn. And Saturn has been very much going ham on our lives, very much going ham and forcing us to reanalyze and upgrade a lot of different things that we've needed to upgrade, and kind of like getting it together, our individuality versus the collective versus other people versus our friendships versus our circles, our cycles, our people, our community, who we are versus them and us at the same time. So there's been a lot of karmic transformations, specifically karmic transformations, and realizations during this time. So this week is very much navigating through that energy. And then as we kind of move into the moon moving into Pisces, the energy starts to kind of like it starts to move into a more spiritual component. There are a lot of like dreams have been very, very like in your face with the messages lately, but once the moon moves into Pisces, you're going to feel that energy be very much like almost like dreamy but cloudy, and cloudiness, like the subconscious being triggered during this time, is a little bit, it's a little bit hard because we're being forced to dive deep into our unconscious mind. That's what Scorpio season is all about. It's all about diving into your unconsciousness, diving into the things that you don't want to really address, you don't want to really kind of navigate, but they're there, they're lurking, they're sitting there, they're just kind of doing the most. They're kind of poking at your button, poking at your wounds, poking at like your pain, your hurts, your the things that really have been needing to like get themselves sorted out. So it's been one of those times, y'all. It's really been one of those times that it requires us to check ourselves. It requires us to really get back into alignment. And now that Venus is in Capricorn, we're going to be able to focus a little bit more and be a little bit more grounded. Thank goodness, because Pluto in Capricorn has also been triggering a lot of transformations, and that's going to continue to happen because there'll be like Venus in Capricorn in conjunction to Pluto, because Pluto's also in Capricorn. So you're going to see like how Pluto and how Venus relate to each other. There is going to be a little bit of a possession energy at play as well, because Pluto is a very possessive energy. The energy like of Scorpio and Pluto is very possessive, it's fixed energy. Scorpio is a fixed sign. So there is an element of possession and manipulation that's happening as well. And so there are triggers. There are triggers. Don't think that you're gonna navigate through like this time and everything's gonna be easy. You have to do the work, especially now that Venus is in Capricorn. And that's really like the big thing about that video. It's like you have to do the work. If you do not do the work during Venus in Capricorn, you are going to literally trip on shit on your face, and you're going to just, it's going to be a hot mess. It's going to be a hot mess. It's going to be a hot mess because like how are we supposed to grow past all of the challenges that we've been going through if we don't reground, regroup, and like get out of the mud? Like I feel like right now Scorpio season is showing us how and why and all of the areas like, hey, this is what's wrong, you need to address this, you need to focus on this, you haven't done anything about this, you forgot to address this, and now it's kind of like everything's coming up, you know, to collect. Like the universe is coming to collect and we got nothing to show for it right now. So this is the time to reanalyze, to get it together. Get it together. You have to do the work. You will not benefit out like from this Venus and Capricorn transit if you do not do the work. You just won't. Even through the retrograde, it's gonna be in Venus will be in Capricorn for 4 months, y'all. 4 months. 4 months. 4 months is a lot. That's a lot. I'm not complaining because I'm a Capricorn, but still, I mean, for like everybody else, it's still a lot. It's still one of those things that it can feel like a lot. It can feel very heavy. It can feel like, you know, like like if you're not grounded, if your foundation and your stability in certain areas of your life, whether it be your relationships, whether it be your home, whether it be your job, whether it be like, you know, certain things, whether it be your family, whether it be your ancestors, like certain things, whatever is not stable is gonna start crashing in front of you until you address it. It literally be like that. So what do we need to know collectively? What is happening collectively this week? What do we need? Wow. What do we need to know collectively? Wow. Okay. What do we need to know? I'm not even surprised that this is coming up right now. What do we need to know collectively? What do we need to know collectively for this week? There's an aspect where it's almost like we're self-harming ourselves by our choices. The choices that we're making have been self-harming us. And it's almost like in part, there's a part of us that knows it, but we're still doing that shit. We're still doing it. Collectively. One more card. What do we need to know for this week collectively? What do we need to know for this week collectively? Okay. So, wow. Okay. Y'all. So, this right here, this is what gets me laughing right now. This right here. Because of the way that they decided to design these cards, it's just really, really interesting. The first card that came out was the Justice card. And we talked about how a lot of this started after Virgo season. Shit started to literally hit the fan. Like, hit the damn fan. Like, everything started to kind of like break down and have different, it just started to kind of like, everything just started to like implode. It started literally through Libra season. And you have this kind of like, if you actually look at the card, half of it is the brain, half of it is the heart. Okay. Half is the brain, half is the heart. Okay. So you see this kind of energy of, balance between the mind and the heart, balance between the mind and the heart. Okay. And it really, there has been a lot of imbalances between the mind and the heart throughout this entire time. And this is why we're going through this period right now where it's like, you haven't been in balance. So you have to get it, you have to get it together. You have to get in balance now. You have to search for that balance. You have to try to reach for that balance and that capacity where you're able to grow and thrive and um, stable and at peace and in harmony without the chaos. And right now, it's kind of like we're still navigating through this chaos. And what part are we navigating right now? Well, Libra season, I think, highlighted a lot of what's going on within the mind space. And it's because Libra season is an air sign, it really kind of like um, highlights the head. It really highlights the mind. It really highlights what needed to be sorted out mentally, what needed to be accepted mentally. But then with the lovers, the Gemini card, even though Gemini is very much an air sign, it is represented as the hearts because the lovers is very much still connected to relationships and love. And so right now we are seeing the consequences of our minds and the actions of our minds. And how a lot of the choices and the things that we have done to ourselves and about ourselves and for ourselves have created imbalances in our hearts and have created a state of chaos where we're now trying to sort out and rebalance those two things. And we are in a state of emotion. This is where we're getting the Knight of Elixirs, which is the Knight of Cups. We are in a state of emotions. We are feeling very, very much emotional. We're feeling very there are dense moments throughout this time period. There are some times that you might like, work on yourself and feel good, and there's some other times that it's almost like the energy and your emotional energy just kind of brings you straight down, and you're trying to kind of navigate the energies in a way that's like that makes sense. But it's still dense. It's still something that's very, very dense. It's still something that feels very, very heavy. It's still something that um that causes pain, that is almost like a trigger. And we're getting pushed into those kind of like those areas where now it's just kind of like, well, we got the Five of Swords and we got the Three of Swords. Like, here you go. Now you have to kind of take these swords out of your heart now you have to sort out your emotions and take your mind, take the choices that you have made that have led you into this situation where you are now kind of like in pain because of your choices. And now you have to kind of like decide to sort out what's going on in your head. And this is like, it's one of those times where it really requires us to process more about ourselves and our energies and our journey. Okay. It requires us to really look at how mentally we have allowed chaos, we have allowed discomfort, we have allowed thoughts and feelings and certain things that, you have been internalizing, that you are now realizing that you've been internalizing, even though you've been telling yourself you've been fine the whole time. There are certain things that have been buried very, very deeply that have been creating a lot of problems for us. And now it's time to clean the house. It's time to clean the house. It's time to get it together. It's time to kind of like, you know, look at how our choices, especially with that Five of Swords, how our choices have not only hurt us, even though we thought we were okay, but they hurt other people that we care about. Okay. Now we have to think about how we're going to fix this. Now we have to think about how we're going to do the work. How are we going to apply ourselves? How are we going to do this? Like how are we going to do the work? It's really, really interesting right now how we're kind of trying to get back into the flow, trying to get back to ourselves when, for a minute we like let ourselves go. We lost a balance within ourselves. We thought we were, but we lost it. It got lost somewhere in the translation of the thing, and it created like a lot of chaos. And so there's kind of like this very layered transformation happening right now where it doesn't necessarily feel really that great, but it's something that it's something that's super necessary anyway, like absolutely necessary anyway. Um, and you're going to be seeing the shifts of that as well. So there's just like there's layers. There's so many layers to it. There's layers, but we have to right now is really about analyzing and doing the work. I cannot stress it enough. If you think that you are going to get through this time, especially the next 4 months, without having some sort of game plan about how you want to address the things that have been creating so much turbulence, the choices that you've been making and doing that have created so much turbulence in your life, if you don't think that you need to have a game plan about that, you're going to find yourself in a deeper hole. I'm just saying. In a very much a deeper hole. Collectively, what do we need to know for this week? Collectively, what do we need to know for this week? Okay. So the first one that we're getting is veils parting. Okay. Veils parting. Veils parting. Because we're able to see things a lot clearer now. Why? Because Scorpio season, it unlocks the unconscious mind, the things that you have been unconscious about, the things that you have allowed to create like turbulence. Those are the things that are coming into really coming into life right now, and are really just creating quite a bit of turbulence. But you're able to see things a lot clearer now. You're able to see how your choices led to certain circumstances that are not necessarily so fun to deal with now, but are still absolutely necessary for you to move through, move past and navigate. We also have awaken your magic. Okay. Awaken your magic. Why? Because you should see your spiritual practice as a solution to what you're going through right now. You should see your spiritual practice as a solution. If you are just kind of letting yourself feel like shit and you're not working on yourself, you're not trying to resolve some of these issues, you're going to feel very, very dense. It's going to feel worse if you don't actually try to do anything about it. You're just going to feel worse. It's not going to feel good. You should still try to see this as an emotional transformation that needed to happen. You should still try to see this as a necessary process for change, for good, for what it is that you personally needed during this time, for what you personally and how you personally needed to transform and grow during this time. Like, you should see that as, this sucks, but I needed to get that together, and I haven't gotten that wasn't together for a while, but I now recognize that I have been technically self-harming myself with my choices lately, and I really need to fix that. So this is a time for resilience and strength. Okay, this is a time to really connect back and tap into your strength, and this is what I mean by your spiritual practice right now should be a reaction to circumstances. If you are going through something that it feels heavy, that feels dense, that feels hurtful, that feels there's just, it feels like there's a lot going on. It feels like you are navigating some very kind of like deep waters. This is one of those times where you need to make sure that you're still in alignment with yourself and what you need at the end of the day. And make sure that you're connecting and tapping back into your strength, so that way you can handle those situations, not feeling like you're weak or like you're torn apart and stuff, but you're like still picking yourself back up. You're still perking yourself back up and making sure that you are taking care of yourself. Even though, it might seem like the universe is handing one to you, you're still taking care of yourself in the process. Collectively, what do we need to know collectively for this week? Collectively. Okay. So this is definitely something that I feel like it's been coming up in readings a lot too. Like, a lot of the readings that I've been doing, this card has been popping up, and this is honesty. Okay. Because there's a time where we are being very honest and blunt, and just, we're being very honest to ourselves. Scorpio season, Scorpio energy rules the truth. That's why They rule the unconscious mind, because the truth sometimes is buried down into the unconsciousness. And when we rediscover what the truth is, it can be very painful, because the truth hurts. It can hurt. There are some truths that feel great, right? There are some truths that feel like, oh my God, this is such a great thing for me to have like experience or learn and stuff. And then there are some truths that will literally try to take your soul. That's just the truth of the matter. There's some truths that really hurt. There's some truths that feel like you're losing yourself, or like you did something so like heavy, or just really heavy on your spirit, that you caused pain to yourself from your own choices. Like it just feels like you did this to yourself. Okay. So right now it's time for honesty. It's a really big time for honesty, especially because we need to analyze this. We need to analyze that 5 of Swords and that 3 of Swords. We need to analyze how these swords got into being a thing in the first place, how they got there, why they got there. Are you still going to continue the cycle of behavior of self-destruction, not only to yourself but to other people during this time? Are you still going to continue to do that, or are you going to try to evolve past it? Okay, this is the time where you need to be honest with yourself about the things that have been done and that you've been doing, or and others have been doing, that have created a lot of chaos, that it's just been internalized, and now it's just kind of everything's just blowing up into the open. Everything's just like up into the open. So it's about that growth. It's about that. It's about really reclaiming your power in a way where the honesty, even though the truth hurts during this time, it's what needed to happen. It's what you needed to know. It's what you needed to hear. It's what it needed to happen. It was a catalyst for your change, for your evolution, for your elevation, and it needed to happen. We're also getting listening right now as well. And listening is one of those cards where it really highlights us paying it to, again, if you're going to analyze this, you need to listen, and not only to yourself but to other people, because other people will also be letting you know, like, hey, I stopped talking to you because of this situation, because when you spoke to me like that, it felt la, la, la. Like people will be telling you and communicating to you, like, this is why this happened, this is what's going on, this is how I feel, this is how you made me feel about this situation. So this is a time for listening, not only to ourselves, but to others, to our spirits, to our ancestors. We need to make sure that we are actively listening to the guidance, that we're listening to the message, that we're listening to the triggers, that we're listening to the things that are making us uncomfortable. Okay, the things that are creating like chaos. We need to listen. We need to pay attention, because at the end of the day, you listening is going to bring you to that honesty. It's going to bring you to that space where you can accept and be honest with yourself in that moment, and accept the truth for what it is, accept the circumstance for what it is, accept what happened for what it is, and then you can decide, you can choose to do something different in the future. You can choose to be better in the future. You can choose to navigate it in a different way in the future, so that way you can move on and be and feel like you're in alignment with yourself again. Not that you're in a disalignment and you're trying to navigate the swords that you ended up sticking inside of your heart and inside of your head, and just causing the turbulence and allowing the turbulence that has been present to just kind of stay there. This is a time to really like have that discernment, to pay attention to those like triggers, to listen to our bodies, to listen to our heads, to listen to our intuition, anything that's kind of like coming up and creating turbulence and chaos and just frustration, really analyzing that, listening to those things, and figuring out what we're going to do about it. Because at the end of the day, how we react to our circumstances is what's going to get us to the next step. Okay, how we can either choose to not do anything about it, and then it just kind of stays, it stays being painful, it stays being It stays being a difficult time. It stays being frustrating. It stays being complicated. It stays being like very complex and hurtful, and it just ends up getting buried again. It really does. We'll just seek instant gratification, and it ends up being buried again. And there's nothing. What is the point of us allowing ourselves to bury all of this back down? It's just gonna come up and blow up in our faces later. That's what's called baggage. And this applies to relationships as well. When it, like, if you during this time would rather like let go of someone than work with them, unless you know that's not in the cards for you, like you're not meant to like be with them in any capacity. But if it's like right now, like you could be doing the work and you're not, you're just deciding to give up, it's going to affect you in your next relationship. It just is. It just is. Collectively for this week, that we need to know collectively for this week. Okay, let me just pick up this one that done fell on the floor. Okay, yeah, this card has been coming up a lot lately. Okay, so the first one that came out was Mother. Okay, the first one that came up was Mother, and it says, I open my heart to my mother's humaneness and her divinity. Okay, Mother. And there's an aspect of this week that requires nourishment. And even if that seems a little bit difficult, there's also this energy of connecting to the maternal side of our ancestors this week, for nourishment and guidance. Okay. This is one of those weeks that it requires us to tap into our like maternal energies in order for us to navigate some of the paternal things that we're going through, especially now that Venus is in Capricorn, because Capricorn energy is paternal. Cancer and Capricorn are opposites. They are Cancer ruling the maternal energies, that mother energy, and Capricorn ruling the paternal energies, that father energy. And so right now, with the fact that there is a good amount of earth in the chart, in a way that it's being very critical and activating a lot for us when it comes to pleasure and transformation, especially with Pluto being in Capricorn, we need to see this kind of like Scorpio season, especially this week, as a like we need to react to the energy in a way that is nourishing, in a way that it kind of like heals us, in a way that is bringing us not like if it feels like everything has been so harsh, you're gonna need a softer touch. You're going to need a little bit of a different approach to how you're navigating the week. And this is why the mother energy is coming up. It's like you need to focus on your self-care. By the way, this is literally why I'm having the workshop on November 19th for self-care. I keep saying that because when I broke down on the lunar eclipse in Taurus that's happening on November 19th, which is when I'm doing the self-care workshop, this is literally why, because we're being called to still take care of ourselves amidst all of this chaos that's happening around us. That's why I wanted this month's workshop is literally about self-care. For those who are going to want to get tickets, the link will be in my bio. But this is why I focused on self-care for this month, because it felt like this month, when I was looking at the chart, it felt like this month was going to be so heavy that it's like we needed that break, we needed that nourishment, we needed that kind of like that moment where we can take care of ourselves, where we can like check in with our bodies, check in with our spirits, check in and see what's going on with us, and like, you know, hold ourselves a little close, and like not, you know, it just feels like it's been a little bit heavy recently. And so it requires us to approach it in the way that it's a little bit more nourishing, a little bit. It's just that's a little bit different. Now we're also getting grace. Okay, grace. Okay. And it says, I am filled with the same beauty, poise, and divine perfection as all of God's other creation. grace. Why? Because we're being called to handle this situation, even though it's very much chaotic, very much crazy, very much like feels all over the place. We're getting called to still handle it with literally the deepest of grace. Like we need to, it's not about necessarily faking appearances or anything like that. It's mainly like you still need to be able to handle this. It's kind of like the way that that is like coming up. It's like, you know, in the movies where there's like a fight scene, or like a, like whether it be like a gladiator scene or some sort of fight scene where the protagonist is kind of like, he's been getting down and they, you know, he's getting his ass whooped, or she's getting her ass whooped, and it's just like in that point where it's just like taking the punches, and it almost looks like they're losing and stuff, and it's kind of almost like, even if they're about to lose, or even in that moment that they're about to lose. Matter of fact, it reminds me of the Sherlock Holmes moment with the, his greatest villain, and how, you know, they end up like that waterfall moment where it's just kind of like, I'm not going down. I'm not going down by myself. I'm not like, I'm handling this with all of my strength. I'm able to handle this and still show up for myself. I'm not going to allow myself to, even while I'm getting beaten up right now, to just allow myself to get continued, like, to be seen as weak, or to be seen as just kind of deteriorating. It's like, it's almost like there is a focus of kind of elevation that's happening. There's this focus of like making sure that we're uplifted and empowered during this time. Somebody said, what cards are those? This is the Mary Queen of Angels tarot oracle deck. The next card is truth. I am lovingly honest with myself and others. Truth. Why? Because Scorpio season rules the truth. Okay, we are coming to terms with our truth. That includes the truth that we ourselves have been causing us pain. We ourselves have been causing us to be put in situations that have brought us pain. We have not set ourselves up for success on this end. There have been a lot of underlying issues that are now rising to the top and just coming to light. And it's really like, it's about making sure that we are accepting the truth for what it is, and that we're able to overcome, and we're allowing ourselves to overcome too, because it's a choice. You can choose to kind of sit in it and just cry till your eyes just pop out of your face, and just kind of not process it. You can cry about your circumstances, or you can cry to release and heal. The intention matters. The next one is home. Okay. And it says, I trust and follow my divine guidance about my home. Why is this coming up right now? What? Because the mother energies, both of these are ruled by Cancer energy. One of the cards that's been coming up like nonstop has been like the Chariot card in readings too. There is this very much a focus on home, family, the ancestors. Granted, okay, we are basically like moving into holiday season right now, and so it kind of turns into during this time you tend to see a lot more family kind of drama dynamics, and it just, things can get a little bit messy and chaotic during this time, and it's one of those things that you have to learn how to have discernment and kind of like pick your battles. But there is a focus on the home, and the reason why there's a focus on the home now is because of that Venus and Capricorn energy. Capricorn, while it, again, paternal. So Cancer rules the home, but Capricorn is about sustaining the home. It's about the foundation of the home itself. This is why when you look at the 10th house energies, it rules that foundation, that social status, that legacy. Your part of your legacy is the home that you have built for yourself. And so when it comes to that home card, it asks us to reevaluate and reanalyze the things that have been causing us, our home, our foundation, our root, the things that we are grounded in, the things that we felt so comfortable in, to reevaluate and see what we have been like, you know, letting go, and letting kind of rot, and just how we have created a mess in our own home, how we have created a toxic environment in our safe space, in our sacred space, because your home is a very, very sacred space. And it asks us now to reevaluate and uplift our home space and make sure that we are nourished in this space. Make sure that we are taking care of ourselves in this space, because we are going through a little bit of a tough week this week. Even astrologically speaking, we're going through a very tough week. We're still navigating so much of the energy, and we're still transforming, we're still healing, we're still growing. So it's about making sure that where you are at, that is meaningful, that is comfortable, that is the right fit for you, that it is ultimately what brings you comfort, nourishment, that you're like in that sacred space, that you're in that safe space. And right now it feels like the places that we call home, the places, the people, the areas that where we say like, oh my God, this is what feels like home to me, some of those places are a little rocky right now. Okay. And so we need to actively like do something about the rockiness of those places. We need to actively decide to, be a little bit more consistent about how we address our circumstances. We need to make sure that we are prioritizing our growth and our comfort during this time while we're doing all of this healing, because not all healing is like super easy. Some healing is like very difficult and very traumatic and can feel very, very heavy, and it's just about doing the work. Archangel Michael, what do we need to know for this week? What do we need to know for this week? Okay. Archangel Michael done gave me 4 cards. Okay. Wow. The theme of truth just keeps coming up like crazy. By the way, the first card that came out was spend more time outdoors. And this is a really great one, especially if you've been feeling a little bit stuck. Some of you, I feel like some people need to do a cleansing, like an actual home cleansing, and just reset the energies. But spending time outdoors will allow you to ground with nature, which is really important if you're trying to find a way to navigate the energies in a natural way, where it doesn't feel like, where it doesn't feel like out of place or abnormal. It just feels like, you're comforted through nature as well. And like with the nature spirit. So spending time outdoors, even though it might be a little bit chilly right now, is a great time to kind of like be one with nature, but also reground yourself. Venus in Capricorn energy is a very grounded sign, and it's really, really about connecting to your foundations and your roots, and where you need to make sure you have a solid foundation. And so that Venus in Capricorn energy, it's a really, really great time to spend time outdoors, to go hug a tree, to go connect with nature, to go like check in with even your plants, to go kind of like, if you want to just take a walk in the park or maybe go on a small hike or something like that. It's a great time to kind of like get some fresh air, especially if your mind has been very much clouded, or you've just been in your head so much that it's just all over the place. So really, really great time to kind of sort through that. But let's do the prayer together. So the prayer goes, thank you for motivating me to spend more time outdoors and for helping me relax and enjoy connecting with nature. That is the prayer for that one. Now, the next card that came up was decide to be happy now. Decide to be happy now. So can you actually genuinely say that you were happy before? Can you generally say that you set yourself up to be happy before? Or can you admit that you made some choices that weren't necessarily for your happiness, that were compromising, or certain things that you buried down? Y'all, we need to like keep in mind that we also like just went through a whole entire pandemic. And that was very, very traumatizing. That was very, very impactful. And not everybody handled that situation very differently. Not everybody kind of like navigated it the same way. And so you have to like really look back at how such a social event affected you on a personal level. Because even though, this was happening to like everybody, you also had to there's also internalized thoughts and feelings and different kind of situations that you internalized about this that are still kind of there, whether it be fears, whether it be like you became a germaphobe, whether it be like you're scared to kind of like get closer to people, or you feel, or you just even just feel very, very, very scared, or like um almost like burying down your fear within the collective, or your fear within society, or like with the government, or whatever it is. It's just like the how did you deal with this situation? How did you deal with COVID? Because we all dealt with it in different ways, and not all of us dealt with it in a very healthy way. I will tell you, I definitely was overeating. I definitely was eating my feelings, especially because last year I was also working. I was working at a supermarket too, and I like it was scary because you guys know my fiance is she's diabetic, and she was also working too. So it was like it was crazy because I was like panicking about not getting her sick and everything, and I was just like I'm a pretty big germaphobe, to be honest. So it was very also triggering to me on that end, because I would always have to like have my hands clean. I was always wearing gloves, and I was always kind of making sure that I was as clean as I could possibly be. But it was very, very triggering watching everybody else and the way that they were handling it too. And the carelessness. Oh my God, there is so much carelessness about everything that happened as well. It was a very scary time, and it felt like it felt like we were forced to be strong about something that is inherently collectively a scary time. And if you were still like working at the time, especially like being like with the public all the time, it was scary because you never knew what day you can get sick or whatnot. Like you never knew what was going on. There was like people that died at my job from it, and it was just like it was really like scary. It was scary. Um I never got sick from COVID at all, even when Babe got COVID. Like she was like coughing in my face and I never got sick. My immune system is really, really good. So I didn't kind of go through like a hard time with it. But it was definitely it's scary within every like being with everybody else, and also like making sure wanting Babe to be okay and her health and everything. But we still have a lot of collective trauma. And if you think that Jupiter and Aquarius and Saturn and Aquarius isn't still like forcing you to process a lot of the issues that collectively happen, yeah, including like how the government handled it, and the fact that they, especially within the United States, they were just not taking care of the citizens. Like they weren't taking care of the citizens at all. This is what that COVID was one of those years that I was just like, I wish I lived in Canada. And I just like, but I don't want to live in the cold either. You guys know this. But it was one of those years where I was like, damn, I wish I lived in Canada, because goddamn, like that's crazy. Um because Canada had a whole different approach. Like everybody was getting paid like $2,000 a month, and everybody didn't lose their jobs because the government subsidized. Like they made deals with all of the companies and just said, hey, put everybody on leave, and we're just gonna send everybody $2,000 a month, and they have universal free healthcare. So basically, like they were just chilling at home watching Netflix. Basically, that's what Canada was doing. Meanwhile, in the United States, it was like fighting for your life. It felt like just fighting for your lives. Like you were just fighting for our lives this whole time, and it was just scary. It was just scary. I feel like there's elements of the United States um that that feel like there's elements of the United States that feel like it's self-destructing itself, and that it literally genuinely wants to harm its citizens, especially with some of the laws and some of the things that are going on. Like I genuinely sometimes be feeling like, y'all, does the United States want us to be alive? Because honestly, with the way that some of these laws are set up, it just like it just the fact that so many senior citizens died because of COVID, it just it's crazy to me. It's really crazy to me, y'all. It's really, really crazy to me. And this is why I feel like this country is very heavily flawed. It's why it's also very hard to be very patriotic about being here. But it's very flawed. It's like full of flaws. And I honestly feel like being a United States citizen has been very traumatic. Um, it has been a traumatic experience on its own. I feel like we're still all kind of navigating that, and I feel like that's why millennials get hated on so much. They just get shitted on so much. They're just like, you know, just always hating on us because we're always kind of like, no, I don't want to work 9 to 5 and die when I'm like 60. You know, like they're just straight up like just straight up like, no, like millennials don't want to keep doing this. Millennials don't want to go to church anymore. Millennials, they'll literally blame us for everything because we don't want to keep their system of oppression and their colonial system like in play. Like it's really, really, really weird. It's weird to me. But what can we do? What can we do? We also got admit the truth to yourself and act accordingly. Okay, that's the next card. And the prayer goes, I appreciate your support in helping me face my feelings with grace and acceptance so that I can be lovingly honest with myself and others. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for giving me courage and strength. Because the truth is a theme. The truth is a theme for the season right now. You have to admit once you admit the truth to yourself, that's when you start addressing the swords. That's when you start addressing the pain. That's when you start addressing the things that have caused like a lot of chaos, that have caused a lot of turbulence, that have led us to where we are now. And now we're just kind of like recouping and trying to get it together. Like really, really trying to get it together. It's one of those things that it's like, it's not an easy time right now. It really isn't. It's not an easy time, but it's one of those things that will ultimately, if you do the work, if you admit the truth to yourself and act accordingly, if you put in the work to sort out the shit that you need to sort out, that's when the shift happens. That's when you start benefiting. That's when you start that's when you're able to start working with that Venus and Capricorn energy. Because like I said, if you do the work, it's going to be a lot smoother to get through. It's just going to be a lot smoother. It's going to feel smoother. It's going to feel like you're getting somewhere, right? It's going to feel like you're getting somewhere. But don't forget, Capricorns love, we're mountain goats. We climb mountains, okay? We're trying to get to the top of the mountain. So you have, the journey is not an easy time, but it's still like you still got to keep going because we're trying to get to the top of the mountain. The next card, explore your options. I feel like this is one of those. This is one of those because the question is, how are you going to handle this? How are you going to take the swords out of your chest? How are you going to accept the fact that you made some choices that were self-destructive? How are you going to like navigate and move forward through some very complicated relationship issues? How are you going to like handle the work that your ancestors are tasking you right now? How are you going to deal with the family dynamic and drama of the holidays? There's a lot of different kind of ways, but you have to explore your choices. You have to look at your choices. You have to look at what feels right to you, what feels like it's meant for you to handle during this time, what feels like it's how you need to kind of handle the situation, what feels like, this is in my heart, this is what I feel like I need to do, this is how I feel like I need to address this is how I feel like what the best thing that I can do about this is. Like, this is one of those times where you need to think wider, think bigger for yourself by removing the limitations and the issues that you have placed on yourself in the past. Okay? This is the time where it's just like, okay, now that I know this, how do I react now? How do I change this? How do I shift this? How can I like create, a different movement? How can I navigate my way out of this now? Now that I know how, Okay, now that I know how. So yeah, that is the weekly messages for this week. I hope that you guys got all of the messages that you needed to get. This week is definitely going to be one of those weeks that you kind of have to like, you gotta take it easy. Okay, you gotta take it a little bit easier, but you also have to do the work. I'm not gonna stop saying that. And for the next 4 months, just know while Venus is in Capricorn, especially with this Pluto conjunction, just know that I'm gonna be saying that quite a lot. Okay, you want to see anything out of this on the next 4 months, you're gonna have to do the work. You're gonna have to do the work. You're gonna have to apply yourself. You're gonna have to make sure that you are uplifting yourself with your choices and that you're making choices that are for the betterment of your life, for the betterment of your experience in this world. You have to make sure that you're making choices that are meaningful, that ultimately are bringing you joy, but you also have to you have to analyze the underlying energies that have led you to be in a place where you're not now you're sorting out, you know, some deeper truths about your circumstance, some deeper truths about your experiences and your actions, your choices, the way we connect and grow with other people, and how we kind of navigate that energy. Because it's definitely, if we continue to let ourselves kind of just ignore certain things that need to be addressed, it's going to make it so much harder for us to be able to be happy in the future. It's just going to make it harder. We're going to need a lot of therapy to work through that. So do the work. Okay, do the work. Analyze what's not feeling right. Let your intuition lead you to what's not feeling right. And whatever's not feeling right, allow that to be transmuted the way that it needs to be, so that you can then move into the what needs to, where you need to be, so then you can then be in a place and at that state where you're like, okay, I feel more myself now. I have addressed that. I have, like, you know, I took that on, and now I feel like I'm in a good place. Now I feel like I'm not carrying that anymore. I feel a lot better. I feel a lot lighter. If you've been feeling heavy, address that shit. Some of you guys very badly need some energy healing sessions. I'm just saying. I said what I said. But just take it easy, gently, easy, gently. Okay. For this week, we will be meeting up for, so we're going to have our weekly prayer circle this week. We're also going to have our weekly community oracle poll as well. And you guys are getting like a ton of videos that I need to finish editing. But stay tuned. For those who are on TikTok, make sure you're following me on YouTube, because they get the majority of my larger content anyway. So make sure you're following me on YouTube. And yeah, I will definitely see y'all in the next video, in the next live, and the next all of the things. But I love you guys. Have a good night. I will see you guys. Bye. Bye, y'all. Have a good night.